Hello everyone, this is Sanjay Parashar. Welcome back to the channel. So finally we know enough to develop our first Mule application. In this video, we will create a Mule project and develop a REST service and will deploy and test it using advanced REST client. We will also learn to create REST service with query parameters and URL parameters. We will use HTTP Listener as our event source, which will generate Mule event data and pass it to the next event processor within a Mule flow. If you haven't seen the previous session where we discussed Mule event basics, then this is the time for you to pause this video and quickly watch the previous session. It's just 3 minutes long. So now, as you know everything about Mule data, let's start our development in Anypoint Studio. Initially, your Anypoint Studio will look something like this. I have explained what is what in, I think, second session. So we'll come here and create a Mule project now. I'm going to name it as first Mule project. Finish. So under first Mule project, it automatically created a Mule configuration file called Mule first Mule project. And this is our canvas where we will do the actual development. So in order to create a REST service or expose our project as a REST API, we have HTTP module here. And in HTTP module, we have a listener operation, or I would say a listener process, which can be used to expose your service as a REST service. So we will just drag and drop listener to the Mule canvas. And now you'll see that it automatically created a flow, because flow is a basic building block for our event to process within the flow sequentially, at least by default. And it created this listener, which is our event source, which will generate data based on a trigger. However, you can do it like this also. You can explicitly drag and drop a flow first, and then you can come to the HTTP module and then drag and drop listener like this. So they both are same. So let me just delete this one. And here, let me just first rename this. And in the listener, let's call our API, or let's give the path to our API is called hello. And it will be a get operation and URL is hello. And to specifically define its get, go to advanced and type get here in general. And now we'll need to define the connector configuration. It's actually really simple. Just click on this plus icon. We can keep everything as default. So host will be localhost and port is 8081. We can test the connection. And click on OK. And now in our process side, we will set the payload. So there is a core module where we have set payload event processor, which we use to set different payloads. So as of now, what we can do is let's just simply say hello mule. So now someone will call our REST API with URL path hello, and it will, our service will return hello mule. Let me just like this. And now we can click on this run project and the project name. It will start deploying our project to its default runtime server. Alright, as we can see, it is successfully deployed, and now our endpoint is actively listening to the requests. So now we will go to our advanced REST client, or you can use Postman or whatever REST client that you are comfortable with, and you will call this particular URL, and in response you will get hello mule. So let's test it. So in advanced REST client, I have configured this get operation, or I'll configure this request as get operation localhost 8081/hello, and it should exactly match the endpoint that you have given. It's case sensitive. So if I come here, it says hello all small, and here it says hello all small. So let's send this request. And as you can see, hello Mule. So you have successfully created your first Mule project. Congratulations. However, it's not really practical to just simply hardcode the payload and say that you have created a REST service. So what we can do is we can send a query parameter and then use that query parameter and then place that into our payload. Let's do that. So what I did is I used a query parameter f name and I given the first name as Sanjay. Now if I hit it, result is gonna be the same because we have not done anything with this query parameter and name Sanjay. But we'll need to check one thing. So here, what I'm gonna do is without utilizing or without using that fname query parameter, let's first log our event data so that we'll know that what exactly changed when we added that parameter. So there is a very handy processor called logger, which you can use to log something, and you can debug and trace how your payload is going using this logger component. It's like a print statement in all your programming languages. So inside logger, if I don't put anything, it will print the event itself. So let me save it and let's check the console. So Mulesoft is smart enough that we don't have to stop and start the application if it's a small change. It restarts the application by its own. So as you can see, we just changed it, saved it, and it automatically restarted the application. So now let's check one more time. I'm going to test it and then we'll see how the event data looks like. I hit enter. It says hello mule because we did not change anything in the payload. But now let's see how the mule event looks like. So this is our logger. And in the logger, it has the attribute data, like the path is hello, the method is get. There are so many things that you can see here. However, the most important thing as of now, as per for our example, is this query parameter. So now we are getting this query parameter here. And as you can see, there is no URI parameters. So we will add URI parameters as well today in this particular demo. But first, let's use this query parameter and update our payload. So in order to do that, we click on this set payload. We'll click on this function icon here to switch to the expression mode. The moment we click on it, now we are into the expression mode. So now we will need to write some data weave expressions. So what we can do is we'll say hello, which is of a string type, and I want to use the attributes. And as you can see, the moment I put on a dot, it gave me all the options that I can use that are part of attributes, like listener path, version, everything that is here. And I want to use query parameters. So query params is here. I'll double click on this. And now I'll need to give exactly what I gave in the request. So fname. And I want that to be a string. Because I'm using a concatenated function, so it needs to ensure that I'm concatenating two strings, not a string and an object. So now what I'm going to do is, let me change this hello query param. I save it and Mulesoft will automatically restart the application now. All right, so it is started. Now let's test it. As you can see, this is hello Sanjay now. And in our payload as well, so we utilize this. Now, what is a URI parameter here? So in REST service, whatever is part of your URL becomes a URI parameter. Whatever you give as a question mark, and then that becomes your query parameter. So let's say I want to give last name as a URI parameter. So I'll give a slash and Parashar. However, now we don't have any endpoint that has URL like this. So if I click on this, it will simply say that there is no listener to hello Parashar. So what we can do is we will update our URL, or we will update our path to accommodate this last name. So let's do that. So in our code, we'll go to the listener, and under here, we will use these curly braces to accommodate the last name. And in order to use this last name, I'll copy this, and under the payload, I will concatenate this. So let's first add a space between my first name and last name, and then let's concatenate attribute URI params and last name. Let's do that. As string. Let's save it. And let's check in the console that it will restart the application. Here you go. So app is restarted. Now let's test it. Here you go. So now we are sending Sanjay as a query parameter, Parashar as a URI parameter, and we are able to get the response back. And it took us like 5-7 minutes to reach here. And this is a full-fledged REST API that you have created as a POC just to learn how HTTP listener works within your Mule project. So congratulations, you have developed your first application in Mule. However, now HTTP module is extremely important when it comes to Mule or API creation in general. Now the second step will be to use the request operation of our HTTP module. Using request, we will call an external REST API. That we will do in our next video. So thank you for your time. Take good care of yourselves, and you have a nice rest of the day. Bye bye.